As for dialogue, I start with writing a beat sheet. So my background is I have an MFA in screenwriting and fiction writing. So my dialogue always, I write a beat sheet of what each scene is going to be and chapter is going to be, the motivation for the scene, the conflict of the scene, and the tension of the scene. Then when I have that mapped out, I go through and I just start writing dialogue, just like when I did with when I was a screenwriter, because it's all dialogue and subtext. And it'll end up being maybe 30,000 words. Then I drop that into a different file. And that's when I start writing the characters' inner thoughts, their more details about their description, the description of the town and the secondary characters. But it all starts with the beat sheet and dialogue. I reread Chasing I Do to remind myself of who they were and who the characters were. But when I make a Bible for a series, I not only have a 5-page Bible for the hero and the heroine each, I also have a Bible of the family and who the characters are. That way, when I'm writing book 1, I know the personality of the hero that's going to come in book 4. As a definition, which was put up by Romance Writers of America, a romance is between two people or multiple people where they have a happy ending in the end and love conquers all. So that was the definition that I learned when I joined Romance Writers of America. And when I read a book, I love a happy ending. I think with everything going on in the world right now, I like to dive into a book to where I know that it's going to be a fun escape and a great happy ending. So for me, I like to put not only the obstacles of their experiences of their past with love, what they're afraid of with love. I like to put the family as well as an obstacle that they have to overcome. A lot of my heroes are these big guys who are just alpha males. And it's this young bitty woman or this young, or not young, but this woman that ends up bringing them to their knees. And so I love the juxtaposition of big badass men and these women who are independent women, and the men crumble. Actually, there was an article in People magazine about a woman whose job is she is a hired bridesmaid or bridesmaid for hire. And brides hire her sometimes as a secret because they don't want their family to know that they don't want their sister to assume they're the maid of honor. So to get rid of all the drama, she pretends to be like a friend from college or whatever, and she keeps all the drama from the bridesmaids in line. And I thought, what a great plot for a story. So I wanted to do 2 things. One, I love Formula One racing. My husband got me into that. And it's a trope that's doing really well on TikTok. And the other, I wanted to play on this bridesmaid for hire. And so I love this idea that this woman takes on all these different personalities to help these brides get married. But through taking on those personalities, she's really lost who she was. So by the end of the story, she reacquaints herself with not only the young girl that was hurt, but as the woman who she's grown up to be and be accepting of unconditional love. So that was for sure a fun book to write. All 3 of the race car drivers. Book 2 takes place in America, and it's the American race car driver. And he does like kind of like a Make-A-Wish Foundation, and he's agreed to give some of his time. Well, in walks the representative of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and it was his girlfriend from college who stood him up and never talked to him again. But she has her own story of why she didn't talk to him and ghosted him, and he has his own side of the story. So they have to work together to give this little boy the best Christmas ever. And so his family also owns like a Christmas tree farm. So there's going to be a lot. It comes out in October, so perfect time for Christmas. So there's lots of Christmas antics in it and fun and games, and of course tender romance and lots of really great banter. Actually, I just came up with it. It's called You Wish. Christmas is all about making a wish. It's a little boy's wish. They wish they could have done it over again. I love Nora Ephron. Both books, You've Got Mail and Love to Hate You, are both kind of a nod to Nora Ephron. You've Got Mail is about a woman who is done with dating, and her best friend records her when she says, what would be your perfect match? So she says, well, if I were dating, he would be X, Y, and Z. Unknowingly, her best friend is recording this and puts it up on my version of TikTok, and it goes viral. So she has all these men showing up to her parents' coffee shop where she works with roses, bouquets of pencils saying, I want to take you out, but she doesn't want to date any of them. So she creates this deal with her neighbor who's a hot mess. He lost his wife 3 years ago and says, I will help you get your life in order if you will pretend to be my boyfriend. So, and of course, throughout the fake relationship, they end up finding love. So it was another fake relationship trope. Writing standalones is fun for me because I love secondary characters. And when you're writing a series, there's so many brothers or so many best friends or whatever that it takes up some of the space in the book. Whereas in a standalone, I could really dive deeply into who the secondary characters are and make them um, uh, more of an important part in the book from the obstacles. So for example, um, in You've Got Mail, the her parents, it's a multi-generational book. So you've got the teenage daughter, the heroine, and the grandparents. And the grandparents are constantly trying to set her up with people. And they have a really beautiful love story that actually comes from my husband. His father's gay and his mother is not. And his father thought in that time you didn't come out as gay. There was you would have to live in privacy doing that. So he thought if I could make it work with any woman, it would be my best friend. And they realized along the way that that's what they were. And so to this day, they're still best friends and they realize that they're soulmates. They're just platonic soulmates. And so I wanted to use that beautiful story in one of my books. So when You've Got Mail, I really got to explore not just my hero and heroine, but this other love story that I think is just, it's different and it's beautiful. And really compelling. A setup is always my favorite part to come up with. I could think for weeks on what's going to be that initial beat of my book. And for them, I just love this idea that they were having. This is also a nod to Nora Ephron's Actually You've Got Mail book. I love this idea of two bookstores butting heads and they hate each other. They're playing these pranks on each other. She has her dog walk through the wet concrete in front of his store. He has her baby car towed. And their friends both individually set them up on what's called Row Chance, which is kind of like a romance meetup site. And so every time they get within 100 feet of each other, both of their phones chime, saying that they've met each other's soulmate. So they're not only fighting the bookstore, they're fighting that this app that's supposed to be AI and set you up with your true soulmate keeps pairing them together. Then when Summer goes on her summer vacation with her family on the beach, she's like, thank God I get to get away from the drama for a whole week. But her sister shows up with two men in tow. One is her boyfriend and the other is her boyfriend's brother, which is Wes Kingston. And I think what really breaks him down is he's never had an example of what healthy love is. And what breaks him down is being around this big loving family that he's never experienced. So it's not just Summer that embraces him, it's actually her family who embraces him first. And so I really wanted to not discover, but play around with this idea of found family and how it could be just as important as like natural family. I'm actually a found family. My husband and I adopted our daughter from Vietnam when she was a baby. And even though she's not my biological child, she's my child. And so in this book, I got to explore a lot of the feelings that we've had and my daughter's had over the years. I like half of it to be kind of fantasy and a made up world, but the other half, it's really about connecting with these characters. Whether it's a play or a movie or a book, it's all about relationships. It's not about the scene it really comes down to relationships. That's why it's rare to find a good one person play. You can, but it's really rare because it comes down to relationships between people and how you make those relationships relatable to the reader. I also like to make my characters really relatable and likable. They may not, they're not all perfect. They have their problems and obstacles to overcome. And even if they're a complete jerk, like Wes is in Love to Hate You, he still has this ooey gooey center that you want to root for.